everyone. Welcome to the Haitian Women's Alliance. The Haitian women are back, y'all. And you know, when we pop up on your screen live, we are doing something special. So today I have two illustrious Black women, Haitian women guests with me tonight, and we will be talking about Black women in law. And it's going to be a very free-flowing and very engaging, super interesting conversation about what it means to be a Black woman, a Haitian woman in the legal profession. And we know in the day and age that we live in that is a really real intersectionality that definitely needs to be discussed, and a lot of interesting things to be said about that. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about the Haitian Women's Alliance. But before I do even that, I want you to get some more people watching. As we always like to say, upaka pala. This is one of those events that you cannot not be here. So if there's anyone that you know that would benefit from this conversation, please go ahead and tag them in one of the comments, because we are live right now to YouTube and Facebook. So make sure that if you've got any friends there, you tag their name in the comments so that they're alerted, so that they can join. Text your friends, WhatsApp them, email them, call them, do what you got to do, but get them here, because this is a conversation not to be missed. Okay, so first, let me tell you a little bit about the Haitian Women's Alliance, because if you are just new to us or don't fully know what we are about, I am about to tell you, okay? There's our beautiful logo. I really like that one. It's new. So, the Haitian Women's Alliance. We are a professional organization dedicated to building a community of women across all sectors to expand networks, educate, and celebrate accomplishments. And our purpose is to promote leadership and professional development and provide opportunities for women to expand their networks and circles of influence. And we also inspire women to achieve and to share their success stories. We nurture future leaders by providing academic scholarship. And tonight, we are spotlighting two amazing Haitian women. Let me bring them on the screen for you now, okay? Because all of this on one screen, okay? Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we cannot start the conversation until we give you ladies a proper introduction, because the both of you are so accomplished. Rebecca, if you don't mind, we are going to start with you, okay?
Hi, everybody. Oh, can you guys hear me okay? Am I good? I think disappeared.
My apologies for that. Okay. I didn't realize you were not able to hear me. Okay, I am about to read your bio and introduce you properly. Here we go. Rebecca Beliard. Thank you so much for joining us again. So Rebecca Beliard, a native New Yorker and proud Haitian woman, is an entertainment attorney, public speaker, and career and business coach. Rebecca earned her BS in legal studies and MA in government and politics from St. John's University, my alma mater as well, and her Juris Doctor from the University of Florida. Rebecca started her career at Sony Music Entertainment, working in the copyright department. And Rebecca currently is an associate corporate counsel at Amazon Music. Rebecca enjoys giving back to her community and lends her legal expertise as a volunteer attorney for the Haitian Lawyers Association and the Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts program, just to name a few. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And next up, Alexandra Okolie. I am about to introduce you, so get ready. Alexandra is from South Florida and first-generation American in her family. She obtained her bachelor's in sociology from the University of South Florida and her Juris Doctorate from Texas Southern University Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Alexandra is currently employed with the Harris County Public Defender's Office as an assistant public defender. She works in the immigration section representing immigrant defendants. She is also an adjunct professor at TSU Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Alexandra has been a resource to the immigrant community for years, working with the Houston Volunteer Lawyers Association and the Houston Haitians United, just to name a few. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so embarrassed. My kitchen's all in the back.
No, you know what? This is real life. We are capturing you at home in your
Right.
day-to-day, so you can tell us, how you live your personal and professional life as a Haitian woman. So it is all good. So the first thing I want to do, ladies, is congratulate you for your accomplishments. And I'm sure having Haitian parents, a lawyer is on the approved professions list. So I'm sure your parents are very proud of you at this moment and when you started your education and career. But my question to you is, and we'll start with you, Rebecca, what challenges did you face entering the field of law as a Black Haitian woman?
Good question to start off with. We'll just jump right in. So it's interesting. I was just telling some of my colleagues earlier today that I realized a lot of people don't realize that in the United States, only 3% of are Black women. Very, very small percentage, and that figure hasn't really changed in the past decade. And what makes it so difficult is when you look around, there's not many people who look like you. So the support system isn't always there. And, you kind of just have to kind of figure things out. I didn't have any lawyers in my family, and there was a pretty big learning curve in the beginning for me. Obviously, I've been able to catch up, but I think one of the biggest hurdles is just really not having that support system. There's really a lack of diversity in the field. And when you don't have that support, it could just become, it's already a difficult field to enter into, but then when you don't have it, but I think there's definitely organizations that have helped kind of close that gap and just provide better support for each other, even such as this, where you can come along together. And, I've been able to meet other Haitian women who are also in the profession. So just having that system, that support system has been helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about you, Alexandra? What sort of challenges did you face entering the field of law?
What sort of challenges did I not face? In entering the field of law, I'm aligned with Rebecca as well. I'm the first attorney in my family. My younger cousin did follow that route as well. But it was funny because majority of my family, they're in business, finance, and medical. And so when it came to applying to law school, I had no really guidance from my family, but I had the utmost support from my family, of course. It was difficult because in every position I have been in, except even in my current position now, I've been the only Black female attorney. And I've worked in law firms to nonprofit organizations. And you would think that in immigration law, I would be encountering more Black people, especially living in Houston, Texas, because it has a large African population. But what I've experienced is many go into their own practice and they prefer not to work being managed by others in a law firm practice. In the nonprofit world, it is mostly women. But when it came to immigration, again, I was the only Black female attorney, or just only Black attorney as well. But so many challenges that were faced from living with multiple sclerosis, and stress is a huge exacerbator of that health condition, and it has taken its toll on me and performing in my career. But one thing I always tell myself, and my mom has always told me, is to never let it defeat me. So to make a huge story very small, it's been quite a journey, and I'm still very grateful for it, and I'm still on it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because in addition to, being the legal eagles that you are, you're also real people and real women, and, our personal lives also play a factor as well. So thank you for sharing that. So speaking of being a Black woman in the legal profession, in the workplace, I want to ask you this. Rebecca, we'll start with you. Do you feel any pressure to present yourself a certain way or to conform with certain standards? For example, we're all rocking our natural hair, which is something we may not have done maybe 10 years ago. So are you feeling any pressure to conform in any way, or have you released that?
It's so funny that you say this, because this is one of the first times that I've had braids in a professional setting. As you just mentioned, we're all real people, and I'm going to have surgery soon. So I was like, I need to do something that is going to allow me to have my hair just easy, just to manage. And it's interesting because for a very long time, and I live in South Florida, I wore my hair straight, and I absolutely 100% tried to conform with my colleagues. Like, I didn't want to be the sore thumb sticking out. And, I think it's something that you kind of have to go through. I absolutely regret feeling that I had to fit in. I think that if I could change anything, I would come to work as like my most authentic self. But again, I think when you are new to the profession and there's nobody that looks like you just don't know what to do, and you conform. And I'm definitely at a place now. I graduated in 2016, and I can say, at least for the past 2 years, COVID has made it a lot easier to just show up as my authentic self. Like, I remember colleagues would have conversations about, I'm Haitian, and like what was going on. I think Trump had made that statement about Haiti. And I just remember like hearing people talk about it in the coffee room, and nobody knew I was Haitian. And the way that they were talking about it was just like so offensive. And I remember being empowered in that moment, just like, sometimes people don't know better. And if they don't know better, sometimes it's up to you to kind of like educate folks. But that was one of the very first moments that I felt like a pivot, where like, you know what, it's okay to be who you are and be proud of who you are, and not feel like you need to dim a light on your upbringing and your background, your hair, the fact that you're going to carnival. I remember I'd be like, oh, I'm going to a festival. No, I'm going to carnival. Like, just feeling empowered to be who you are, I think has been like a game changer for me, because again, we're human beings, we're people, and we shouldn't have to kind of change who we are just to fit in the corporate America world.
I agree. And just like you, I wish I brought my authentic self to the workplace a lot sooner. So I'm with you on that.
Sooner rather than later, but here we are.
Alexandra, when did you start wearing your natural hair to the office?
From the beginning.
Yes, honey.
No, I'm so sorry. So I went to school in, I guess, what you would call the South, deep South, because, I did my law school in Houston, Texas. Now, Houston, Texas is a very liberal city, but it's still within the great big state of Texas, where, very Republican state. And when I was in law school, and my law school is predominantly an HBCU, we were told that, being in the South, female lawyers should wear skirts in front of judges. And, we should make sure our hair is appropriate. I'm like, what is appropriate hair? For me, appropriate hair to me, because I'm not flamboyant with my hairstyles, but appropriate hair is wearing my hair in a very professional way. And I've always believed that you can wear braids in a professional way, in a bun. You can wear wigs, weaves, whatever you want, as long as it's, maintained. So when I graduated and I started practicing, and that was like about 10 years ago, I wore my braids. I wore my hair however I wanted. It was never like loud or flamboyant. I was never really self-conscious about my hair. Working in law firms, wearing my natural hair, I did get even from one of the partners, can I touch your hair?
No.
And his hands were like right here. Can I touch it? No, sir, I'm not a pet. But how do you approach that? Because that's your boss. You don't want to be rude. You know what I mean? So it's something that I never really found challenging. Not just that, but a lot of the attorneys, the Black attorneys that graduate from my law school and they stay in Houston, like that's all I see downtown. That's all I see are, Black attorneys. And I've always felt, because one of my neighbors a couple of years ago, she had a friend that was visiting, and one of my friends from law school, she needed assistance because she was in her apartment, and she was afraid to enter her apartment because she felt like it was broken into. So I contacted one of my close friends from law school. He was a guy, and he came by. And so when we saw her again, she had her friend who was visiting from California, and he was so shocked. He's like, this is my first time meeting Black attorneys. And it was a huge shock to us because we see it every day, all the time, you know? And it never occurred to me that we really represent such a small minority in the whole country, and especially Black women, because we are double minorities. We're women and we're Black, you know? So it was a huge shock to me that somebody had never met a Black attorney, to me, when I see them every day in by the boatload. But when it came to exposing my hair and all of its Blackness, I just never really felt that insecurity, because it's either I do my little puff. I never really wore these are micro locks, and I just got them a month ago. So, and even now I work for the Harris County Public Defender's Office as an immigration specialist. And I don't know, I think it's a bit more modernized. But even back then, when I started practicing back in, I graduated from law school in 2011, I never really felt I had to carry an image, because I was more so focused on making sure I know what I'm doing in the courtroom and I don't embarrass myself.
Yes, that is a very good tip. Don't embarrass yourself.
Yes.
So get the law right. The hair is the least of your worries.
That's so important. Yes.
So ladies, let me ask you this. How has being Haitian helped you or hurt you in the workplace, in the legal profession? We'll start with you, Alexandra, since you were
being Haitian, and I'm not trying, I just in the household that I was raised in, we were raised, with respect. And I've been very mindful to be respectful of others. And just in my family, my mom always, taught us to be humble in what we do, but to know who we are and to be very strong in that. So it's just the core values of being Haitian. We have so much Haitian pride, and I always felt like I stood out because of the culture and what I'm used to and my background. It benefited me when I would bring food for potluck, because what I brought was always everyone's favorite, because ain't no food better than Haitian food. So, but it did make people more open in regards to, Haiti and the struggles, and it has made people more willing to, be helpful and be more aware of what's going on and how they can help Haiti as a country.
Yeah. And Rebecca, what about you? How has being Haitian helped or hurt your career?
I would piggyback off of what you're saying, what Alex is saying as well. I think that, first of all, just women, Black women, and then you add Haitian Black women, we are some of the hardest workers, hands down. I've seen it time and time again. I mean, there have been times where I have literally stayed in the office well over 48 hours, had to be no change of clothes. It is what it is, because there was a deadline and stuff had to get done. And I will tell you, we are literally the last standing every single time. Every single time. And that work ethic can't, you have it or you don't, right?
Yep.
You have it or you don't. And I think that, I do want Black women and Haitian women to rest. I don't want us to be working like a mad dog anymore. I don't. But the fact that we have that instilled in us, and that if there's a job that needs to get done, we really can do it. And I don't even doubt even for a second that we can. And I think that's something that just people don't have. That if you don't have that upbringing, you're not gonna know, how do I keep grinding? Where am I finding the strength to just push through. It's going to be very difficult. Even just getting through law school and getting through the bar exam, even before you hit the profession, there's so many roadblocks that you have to overcome. And I think that, for me, my mother, and my father, I don't know anybody who's made more sacrifices and who've worked harder to put me in this position. So I don't take it for granted. And I, make sure that their sacrifices are well worth it. And in return, that just kind of spills into my work. So I think that it has helped. I think it has helped significantly, because no one's coming close to us. It is what
For
it is.
sure. And anyone would tell you how hard I work. And I definitely attribute it to my mother's family, and my mother. That's who raised us. I'm the oldest of four. And, we've always been very, very deep rooted in the culture and family. And I've worked so hard to get to where I am because I've watched my mother work so hard to raise the four of us by herself. And I got that will and my drive from her. I myself, again, and those law firms would take advantage of my hard work. So I was the best writer at the law firm that I worked at last year. And so I was given all the appeals, no matter if I'm working on an appeal right now, and I get the next one. And it got to a point where I was losing my mind and I had to go to my direct supervisor and I said, I need help. I can't do this all by myself, because I was literally in the office all night, all the time. If you need people to write appeals, then you need to do better on your hiring process. Have people submit writing samples. Who's not submitting a writing sample that's equipped to take on all of these appeals? You're my boss. You're the head of the department. Why aren't you taking on anything? And he would give me his appeals and he would take the credit and contact the client. For one of the appeals that I won, he contacted the client and one of the paralegals was like, that's not your work. That's Alexandra's work. She should be calling the client. And she called me to let me know, So
it'd be like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. The Haitian woman will be the hardest working person in the room every single time.
Yes.
And I can say that work ethic has benefited my career as well. So ladies, before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge a few more viewers who have joined the broadcast. As I mentioned earlier, we are currently live to Facebook as well as YouTube. And so I want to encourage everyone watching to get more people to watch because this is a conversation that is important and super interesting. And also, if anyone watching has any questions or comments, feel free to pop it in the comments. I can see all the comments from both platforms, from YouTube and from Facebook as well. And so once those comments come up, I can pop on the screen and then the ladies will answer them. So anyone who's watching, please feel free to put in your comments and your questions as well. So the next question I have for you ladies is, I know that both of you have made it a point to engage in philanthropic efforts, to do social good, to help the community. So, and I know that you've also done that within the Haitian community. So I'd love for you ladies to tell me some of the efforts that you've made in lending your volunteerism and your legal expertise to the Haitian community.
Sure, I can jump in. It's funny because during our preparation for this panel, I was telling Alex, I think we spoke when everything just was going on in Texas, and I was trying to figure out a way to volunteer and get down there, just because obviously for everybody it was really horrific to watch on TV what was happening to our people, and it just felt. I know I felt really helpless, and just we got to do something. We have to do something, and so I know I've personally made that point for me. I do a ton of service, whether I'm an entertainment attorney. So typically I'm working in that entertainment industry and helping up and coming artists and whatnot. But there is obviously a very special place in my heart for Haitian, for my people. It is what it is. And I won't forget. I remember volunteering during that time. I don't speak Creole very well. And I had to learn quickly what are the main things I need to say to be able to communicate with folks and really help them fill out their forms and whatnot. And I just remember being so embarrassed and talking and feeling I don't even want to say you already know what they call the Haitian Americans, whatever. I'm not going to even go there, but it was really rewarding for me, at least, that they could see someone that is their people that are willing to help them, because at first all you're dealing with you don't know who to trust. They're asking me for my soul, they're asking me for all this information. You don't know really what resources you can utilize, and I think that is just really important for other even the little kids that were coming through to see, yes, she's struggling speaking Creole, but she's your people, you know what I mean? And you're just so used to seeing hate to say it, the white man that comes and saves the day, and it's nah, we're gonna help each other out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what about you, Alexandra?
Well, as you know, I am the pro bono counsel for the Houston Haitians organization, Houston Haitians United, located in Houston, Texas. So we were kind of at the semi forefront during the Haitian migrant crisis. And it got to a point where people were acting like we were the only nonprofit organization that was assisting Haitian migrants. And I somehow was being contacted from people from Haiti. They were calling my phones ridiculously. Like I wanted to throw my phone in the trash can. And I was so unbelievably overwhelmed. But I was taking on cases pro bono wise. I wanted to help. I know that they were coming. They didn't have the funds. They didn't have the finances. Families located in the U.S. were desperate to locate them, to find out if they were at the border, at Del Rio. How can they get them into the States? Immigration is such a complex in America. And during that time, during the presidential, like it was the transition into the Biden administration, it was a huge thing that was going on. They were coming through what is not considered a port of entry. So it was what Houston Haitians United did was they partnered with the American Christian Association here in Houston, and they had this huge facility. And so they were busing migrants that were being released from ICE, either on parole or on their own recognizance, which means on their own. And they were busing them to Houston. Houston Haitians United was providing plane tickets to families that knew that they were going to be staying in different parts of the country, consisted of Miami, New York, New Jersey, the predominantly Haitian populated areas in the US. And, we did Know Your Rights. Attorneys were flying in from everywhere coming to assist. So it was just so much going on, and it was very fulfilling. And we tried to do the best that we can. We're still doing it. We're still in the assisting the Haitian migrants as much as we can. So anyone who wants to give, you can go to Houston Haitians United. Just Google it and our organization will pop up. But it's been a lot of work. I literally thought I was going to lose my mind last fall. It was so
Alex,
much.
I must say thank you to you. Kudos to you, because I know how crazy. I saw the emails and I was like, wait, I was one of those people blowing her up as well.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know what I can do, because I can't look on TV.
HALA, Haitian Lawyers Association, Haitian American Lawyers Association has been great too, because now they're working on building other chapters in states that don't have it, and in tech they're trying to get at least 3 lawyers per state to build that chapter. And I'm still trying to find another Haitian lawyer in Texas other than myself, so that we can have a chapter in Texas. And it wasn't until I got familiar with Houston Haitians United, which we call, the acronym is HHU, that I was like, there's Haitians in Texas, there's Haitians in Houston, But during that crisis, I also don't speak Creole. I speak some French because my family is French Canadian Haitian descent, but they came from Haiti and they moved to Montreal. But my mom was a lifesaver. She was on call for me, on call, translating. I was assisting people in their credible fear interviews, explaining the process, and in their bond hearings. But to prep them, that's super tough. Yeah. It's so tough prepping them. They don't understand. Haitians can be a little bit stubborn. So just a little bit. And my girl Jay, she's one of my closest friends, and that's my other Haitian buddy here. And so we were living together at that time, but I would have to call her and she'd be working too. And I said, I need a translator. I need this, because I could only say so much. I can understand Creole, but I can say some things, but not enough to prep somebody and to get. And my mom, she was up all night with me, and I know she was frustrated. And I'll be like, Mommy, I need you right now, really quick, just really quick. So it was a lot. People think it's over, but it's not over. It's not over.
And speaking of Haitian moms, someone just put a comment in the chat, and it says Haitian moms are potomitan. And that's from Pat Baudet, whom I'm sure you ladies know, who is the director of the Haitian Women's Alliance.
Yes.
And no truer words were ever spoken. I don't think any of us would be here without our moms, literally.
Yes.
But Haitian moms especially.
They're everything. Their prayers, their provision, everything. And kudos to Pat, because I actually met Pat because I took one of her family's case pro bono also. So that's during that migration crisis. So that's how Pat and I got acquainted, because I worked one of her family members' cases pro bono.
Nice. And we have another question in the comments. Genevieve Michelle Bryan, who is also one of the Haitian Women's Alliance board members, she says, what would you say to your younger self? Rebecca, we'll start with you.
Sure. I would tell my younger self that you are enough. Like, end stop, period. That is it. I think that in this industry, you're going to be tested so many times. You're going to get so many no's. You're going to get so many closed doors, and it can get to you. It can get to you. And especially, like, you know, you're Black, you're a woman, it can get to you. So I would have said to myself, like, you are validated. Like, this job isn't validating you. This degree doesn't validate you. You are enough just the way you are. You were born enough. You are worthy. And there will be times when they will not make you, they will make you question everything, your sanity, your worth, everything. So I think just being really grounded and having that solid foundation, I wish I would have had that, to be quite honest. It probably would have made for a smoother transition into this profession. But you know, you live and you learn. And I'm at a place now where, like, not only do I know that I'm enough, but I'm going for everything and I'm gonna get it too. So it's like,
yes, I love that.
Yes.
Closed mouths don't get fed, okay?
Yep.
The answer is no if you don't ask, and if you don't push for what you want, you're never gonna get it. So
yeah. And Alexandra, what about you? What would you say to your younger self?
The exact same. You are enough, and you do enough, and it's okay to rest.
Amen.
I am a busybody, and I feel I spent some time, you know, praying about it and trying to figure out my why and my God's purpose for me. And I realized that it always comes down to the same thing. And my passion is to help others, you know, and I've always carried that from, you know, from high school to college to law school and even into my practice now. But I'm tired and I don't know how to rest. And my husband always tells me, you need to sit your butt down. And I'm like, I can't, I got to do this and I got to do that. And this person needs me. And what I do now was literally prayers answered, because I was just doing too much. My career, my job was too much, and my just the volunteering and how I made myself available to anyone and everything. And I do so much pro bono. That's why I can't have my own practice, because I'd practically be working for free, you know. And it's not that I'm not I don't stay true to myself, but it's just, I just want to be that helping hand. But there are people who will take advantage of it, you know. So you have to stand firm in what you want and what you're doing, you know. But definitely that I'm enough, and that it is okay to rest, and it is okay to say no. My therapist reminds me this every session too, because I still have that problem.
Go to therapy early on, okay?
Therapy early on. I have a therapist. And she is great.
She's a Haitian woman, my therapist. I don't.
Oh, that's great.
For anything, I don't care.
Mine is a Black woman, but she's definitely spiritually centered, and you know, so we talk about God and everything. So that's really important to me. But yes, therapy early on, very early on. This is a very stressful career, and then you deal with sexual harassment, you deal with racism, you deal with everything.
And you wouldn't think that, being in the legal profession.
Let me tell you.
You know, when I was a freshman moving into Mercer, I started off at Mercer University. I only transferred my senior year to USF. Mercer University is in Macon, Georgia, the main campus. And I was moving in, it's a predominantly white school. It's a private Baptist college. And I was moving into my freshman year. And there was one of the white girls in my hall, her parents were visiting, they were moving her in. And I told her mother I was on the pre-law track, and she acted so shocked. And she's like, oh, you know, that's a very difficult career. Okay, I know. My husband's a lawyer. Oh, good for him. I will be a lawyer too. You know, no encouragement from her as a Southern white woman, just that it's a very difficult career, you know. And so and that's what I always heard, that law is difficult and it's so hard. But I loved my first year of law school, and that's supposed to be the hardest year out of all the years of law school, because I'm a big nerd. My hardest year was my second year, my 2.0 year. So there are people who aren't always going to be supporting you and encouraging you, and you have to be strong to withstand that and just know your worth. And that's one thing that my mother always raised us to know, our worth.
Yes, absolutely. And we have another question in the comments, and it's from Matthew Thomas. And it says, you both spoke briefly about your amazing work ethic that has sometimes been taken advantage of in the workplace. How have both of you set boundaries to your employers to protect your mental space? Great question.
This is a good question.
Very.
And I don't know about you. I'm still working on it. I want to be totally transparent and honest. I am still working on this boundary setting. I think more now than ever during COVID, really things got crazy, and, we were home, and we had, people just thought that we were just sitting in front of a computer 24/7. And, I work for an international company. We have I was taking meetings in India and like all different parts of the world, and like taking naps and like trying to figure out when am I going to sleep. And it can be very overwhelming. But I think that for me, I started, like, for instance, I don't miss therapy. Like, I know it's just an hour every week, but I won't miss it. And then, like, I got a trainer. And she's a Black woman at that, but I got a trainer because I was like, listen, I'm not showing up for myself. And if I need this extra accountability so that I can make sure I'm in the gym, then I need to do that. I needed to put like barriers in place that like I can, because you can say yes to everybody else, but when you start saying yes to everybody else, you're literally saying no to yourself and what you need. And I can't be the best lawyer. I can't be the best daughter, the best sister, if I'm literally operating like half full. Like, I have to pour in myself and take care of myself for me to be at my best. So like I had that like hard reality check with myself, because I'll be honest, like a lot of lawyers are suffering from depression and anxiety, and I was one of those lawyers. And I didn't want that to continue to be my trajectory. And I had to make changes. I had to make shifts, and I had to, advocate for myself. Like, if something is too much, it's too much. And it doesn't make you any less of a lawyer or not as good as a lawyer. It's just simply that this is not manageable. And that's okay to speak up and advocate for yourself. And when you need help, you need help.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm a very outspoken person. So when I first started practicing, I was taken advantage of, and there was even one time there was an associate that was above me, and she was my boss, and she was a white woman, very, very, very narcissistic, and that's what she was known for at the firm. And one time she referred to me to another attorney when we were in court as her assistant. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not your assistant, I'm your junior associate. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. That is not the same thing. That was unbelievably insulting. Her assistant, and I'm a junior associate of the same law firm as her.
With a
I'm
legal
not a paralegal.
A whole
So she's
Juris
basically
Doctor
calling me-
degree.
I have a whole Juris Doctorate degree, and she's introduced me to another lawyer as her assistant. Oh, my mistake. And so she used to always, and like we'd be in court, and she wouldn't let me do the opening statement that I'm supposed to do, and she'd tell me not to tell our boss, or she wouldn't let me do the direct examination in the trial that I had prepared, and I had noted a mistake that she did, and when we questioned the jury afterwards, they noted that, and then she told me not to tell our boss, and I never did. But fast forward like 7 years later, I don't take that anymore. Like, those experiences made me what I am now. So the last firm that I worked for, I stood up for myself, but then the person above me was treating me like I'm the angry Black woman. He said, oh, Alexandra, you get so, No, I don't. I'm just speaking. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not talking down to you. I'm just letting you know that you're taking advantage of me and I need some assistance. And don't take advantage of me because it's not fair, So even when you try to stand up for yourself, they try to paint you as this irate, angry Black woman. Like, we need to come past that. Just because we have voices and we're voicing them in the most calm manner that we can, and yet because we're standing up for ourselves, were this angry Black woman. I'm not ratchet. I'm not ghetto. I'm not beating down your door, and I'm not even using curse words with you. So how am I an angry Black woman? What is an angry Black woman? You know, that stereotype, it has to be dispelled. It really does.
Yeah, and it just boils down to racism. But it's so shocking that it exists in a profession that enforces things like that exist to prevent impropriety.
Let me tell you, I know so many people, and it's not, you can't really publicly talk about it because all these things get settled. Like they get settled, you sign an NDA. I don't know if anyone's seen that show on Netflix. It's called Partner Track. But
I'm watching it now.
Because like there is a lot, you would think it is the last place that there would be, like you would think, but it literally is rampant. It's horrible. It's hard. I mean, remember the stats that I said, less than 5% of lawyers in the United States of America are Black. And that number has been the same for the past decade. There is a reason. It is a very, very racist, sexist. I mean, I hate to say it. Like, I keep it real with people because if you do enter this profession, you need to have some thick skin because you're going to deal with some crazy stuff. Like, I was naive. I will admit it. I was very naive coming into this profession. I thought that if I worked very hard and I put my head down and I kept working hard, I would never deal with any of that because like my work would speak for itself. Surprise. You work very hard and still get hit with all these things. And it's just like, wow, like, this is like, I never wanted to admit it. Like this could be racism and I never wanted to admit that. And then I realized like, this is reality. And like, sometimes being the hardest work still isn't enough for you to withstand the racism. And that's just, people are, that's their, you can't change how people look at you. You can do everything in the book. You can do anything, but like unconscious bias, like, sorry, like there's no amount of work that you can do to like rid people from looking at you a certain way because you're rocking your braids or whatever it may be. You're rocking your fro. Like people are just going to have that preconceived notion of you and they're going to run with it. And that's that.
Right.
And it even goes in, the racism is even in the sexual harassment. Because I am more on the curvy side and I have, some Black woman features, like a behind. And at my last firm, it was discussed even amongst the partner. And when I found out, who can I report this to? The biased HR that reports everything to him and lets him make that final decision. And it was tough. It was really tough, and it puts you in a difficult position. And it got to a point where I just quit on April 13th, 2021. And it was literally one of the best decisions I ever made. I wasn't worried about not having work. I'm a lawyer. I can get work on my own. I have high credentials. I have lots of experience, I know that I could easily get somewhere else, but I also wanted to be very mindful of where I'm going to go. And I said, no more law firms. I can't do it anymore. They overwork you. They underappreciate you. And it's a toxic, the firm I left was toxic masculinity everywhere. Low retention rate of the attorneys. And it was literally, I was work depressed. And I was work depressed for majority of my legal career, except when I was working at nonprofit organizations, because the work was very fulfilling to me. And it was mostly women.
If it's okay for me to jump in, because I don't know exactly who our audience is. And I think that me and Alex are doing a very good job of being very real with you. I do think there are amazing things about being a lawyer, but I do think it's really important to say what it is and not sugarcoat it. I think there are ways to navigate this crazy field. I think there is. The more people you have that look like you, the more support you're going to get, the more opportunities you're going to get, the more doors that will open. So I always say, like, for every opportunity that I have, I need to make sure there's someone else that looks like me right behind me coming in the door. And it sucks because I mean, there have been times where I'll be honest, I thought about I'm leaving this profession. This is crazy.
Me too.
And I just, I'm sure we've heard about these stories. I can't remember her name. She was Miss America. She was a lawyer. She jumped off a building in New York. She was a lawyer And 3 days before her passing, she said, she was so tired of the passive microaggressions in the workplace. She worked at a law firm. And to me, I thought to myself, like, there's so many ways that you can end your life that don't involve jumping off a building. And to do something so tragic like that must have meant she was like hurting so badly. And I know that this profession had an impact on her. And I say that to people, like, you gotta, once you realize you're feeling depressed or you're feeling anxious, you have got to do everything in your power to remember how hard you work to be in this position and to not let these people steal your joy. What did Beyonce say? They're not gonna break my soul. Seriously,
Yeah.
Beyonce right on time, because like
Yeah.
you gotta be so grounded and know who you are, because I'm
Mhm.
corporate America, it's a beast. It's a beast.
Walk away if you need to. Like, don't walk away.
Go where you're
There
celebrated.
will be
not where
other
you're
opportunities. Exactly.
Go where you're
Exactly.
celebrated, because there are places that we can prosper. There are 100%
Oh yeah.
organizations, teams that welcome us with open arms and that care about our contributions and that want to hear our 2 cents and don't just push us to the side. Like there are definitely places that you can prosper, but identifying those early on are very important. Don't stay where it's toxic and where you feel like, you're just not being valued.
But in my background, I have so much experience just in the legal field also, and this doesn't just happen in the legal field. It happens in all across corporate America, every job, low level, high level, all across, so it's very important that you take care of you first. Your mental health is so important. Mental health in the legal profession is super important, just like in the medical profession. Doctors and lawyers have the highest rate of career addictions, addictions in the career, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, because they're very stressful. And you're dealing with people's lives, especially if you're in the human portion of law, when you are doing like immigration, criminal defense, all those things that involve, that person's life, whether their liberty is going to be taken or they're going to be stripped away from their family forever, that they formed a whole life here and so forth. So it's really important that you take care of you so that you can be the best lawyer that you can, and you set your boundaries and you know what's best for you.
Yes, and that's such an important point, because in addition to the trials and tribulations of being a Black Haitian woman in this profession, you're also taking on emotions from your clients, because if they're needing your services, then they're usually in a pretty bad way and going through
Right.
their own life challenges, and you've got to deal with that as well.
Yes.
Mhm. So ladies, as we begin to wrap up our program, I want to encourage everyone who is watching to get in those last minute comments and questions, because we'll soon be wrapping it up. And ladies, I would love for you to think about your parting words. Like, what do you want to leave us with? What do you want to tell the Haitian women of the Haitian Women's Alliance and women everywhere about what it means to be a woman of color in the legal profession? So before you ladies answer that, I want to just give you a glimpse of some of the love that's happening in the comments. Okay, so Yasha just said yes, because yes, we are. I'll take it. And then we've got this comment, which is nothing but stars and hearts, but I will take that too. Jen says, love that. Love this. You ladies rock. You ladies rock again. And Jen says, she did that on purpose. I think going back to what you were talking about, Alexandra, and that work example you gave us, when that lady was being...
Oh, she called me her assistant. I know she did it on purpose.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
My boss even took me to the side one time and told me that she's intimidated by me.
That's always how it happens. That's why they try to take you down a notch or several.
Yeah.
Well, all right, ladies, the time has come. Give us your parting words. Rebecca, we'll start with you.
I think mine would be every shot not taken is a shot missed. If you don't put yourself out there, and if you're not in the arena and you're not getting your behind beat, like you got to get in the arena, and you're going to lose and you're going to fail. But every time you don't take that chance, it's a shot missed automatically. So might as well take the chance I know sometimes people say it's going to take so long to get to this point in my life. It's so much studying, it's so much work, but the time will pass anyways. So might as well take that time and use it towards something that you really care about and that you really want to do. So a shot not taken is a shot missed.
Yes. You got to take those risks. No risk, no
Yes.
reward.
Amen. Yes. So
Alexandra.
I hope we didn't scare you from being a lawyer because, oh my goodness, you don't understand that feeling. Like when I graduated and when I passed the bar,
Yes,
man. And then you're like, you feel so top notch and you're thinking about all that you saw on, which is nothing. The real legal world is nothing what you see on TV. Okay. And if you are planning on going to law school, it's something that you'll learn very, very early. And that's why I can't watch legal shows as much anymore because it's really annoying, but I still get into some. But it is a great career, and it provided me an avenue to be able to help people and to make a difference in people's lives. And it is very fulfilling. It is tiring. I have reached a point of rest, but I've been doing it for over 10 years. So I think I deserve to rest some.
Amen.
But be strong and take risks, and you got it. You got it, and you can do it. And it is rewarding. It has its rewards. Don't be afraid to take risks. If you want to start your own practice, do it. You are in control of your schedule. You are in control of everything, and you're going to struggle. It is going to be something new, but if you stick to it, you will reap the rewards. So don't be discouraged, because everything that we discussed today, you can experience it in any field. So you just got to be strong. And if you're a Haitian Black woman, you're already strong, and you've got the chops. That's what my first boss used to tell me when the first law firm I worked for. He used to always tell me, you've got chops. You've got chops. So you've got chops. You got it. You can do it. And, you can always communicate with either me or Rebecca if you need any advice, if you need any help, whatever it is.
And do it afraid. Do it afraid, because you probably won't feel so confident and like, oh my God, no, just do it. Even if you're scared, still do it. I mean, just go for it.
Absolutely. And so I'll put up the last comment, which sums it all perfectly. Well spoken, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. Rebecca Beliard, Alexandra Okolie. You ladies are so accomplished, so beautiful, and well-spoken, of course. And I thank you on behalf of myself, the Haitian Women's Alliance, and all the viewers for being here on this screen and imparting these pearls of wisdom. And everyone who's watching, stay connected with us. Stay connected with the Haitian Women's Alliance, with Rebecca, with Alexandra. We are here for you, HWA, across all social media platforms. So please stay in touch. Ladies, thank you again, and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kudos to you guys for providing the platform. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good evening.